you do that. Bring a young dog. First thing, I just take him out, just turn him loose with a bunch of birds. The number one thing you have to have, if you're going to do this right, is you got to have good birds that are going to train the dog. They have to flush. When a dog pushes them, they have to leave, and the dog is unsuccessful. That's all you have to have. You don't have to do anything. So you take a young pup out there, and he smells these birds, and he starts bumping and chasing these birds around, and they're getting away from him. So on about the third bird, he starts to stalk so he can be closer when he pounces to increase his odds. And he gets closer, and then pretty soon he's stalking all over the place. And then all I do is I'm out there hunting with him, and he's out there stalking, and I can get up there. I've got a 12-foot cord on him, and I pick up the cord and finish it out so he sees when to go. So he waits through the flush, and I got to check, but he waits through the flush. He waits through the bang. He waits through the fall. I got my hands on him. I settle him down, and I tell him hunt dead, and he learns that with consistency. I have just a few birds, and he's steady. He knows chasing decreases his odds, and not chasing. If he uses me with my big teeth, I can get the bird for him, and they love that. The whole foundation of trust cooperation comes together like a pack, and you've got it. And it's simple stuff. And I have people we've talked before. People bring me a dog. They'll come from out of state or whatever. It's going to take me if I take a young pup that's never seen a bird, never been outside, doesn't know what a recall is, never smelled a bird, and he's at least 4 months old, 4 or 5 months old, or older, it's going to take me 10 to 15 hours. I can have it done in 3 days, and he'll be steady through all of that in the field, understanding it. Now, he needs more experience on different birds and all, but he knows the deal. He knows chasing doesn't work. So he learns the strategy of the new birds because, chukar are a little more nervous and they run a lot. So you got to be a little more careful on chukar, but you got to keep up. Some quail, you got to be careful because if you so much as blink your eyes, they're going to be gone. So the birds teach them, and you just let them learn by the bird. And after just a couple of times, they've got it. But everybody can't. They think they're training a kid. They want to do repetition and the whole bit, and they get in there and take away all the nature that he had. That's why I don't do the tests and the competitions because they're unnatural and they dumb it down so you can shoot a bird that your dog is chasing, things like that. And that's why I don't do it. I don't do those things. The dogs are so much better than that.
If we had the land, I'd probably try to get a recall box for quail. A recall house.
Yeah, and I've done all that, but it can be useful sometimes, but it's really not that great. The problem with a lot of that is these guys use Johnny houses and stuff. They've done all these artificial ways to do it. I've done there's nothing I
I'm
haven't
sure.
done. I've just to test everything, every method, every way. I've done it all because I get a lot of clients and I have to understand what they did. So I've done it all just to test it all. And the whole Johnny house thing, you got a Johnny house out there and you turn a bunch of birds loose and then some of them come back. It's never great, but some of them come back. And then you let them out again. And pretty soon the dog just starts working the Johnny house because he knows that. And he should, because that's the spot. It's like the magic brush pile. They start working a certain brush pile. Every time they go by it, a bird flies out. Pretty soon they walk by and they point the brush pile. I mean, it's
Right.
pretty normal stuff. But what I do here is I'll grab a client comes out, I'll grab a bunch of birds and I'll put some little coveys out. Typically, what I like to do, if I got good birds. So typically, if I want to really simulate hunting as we do this training, I'll take a covey or two or three, and I got a couple different boxes, and I'll take them out someplace with some cover, and I'll open the box and just wait, and they'll walk out as a covey. They don't fly; they all walk out of the box. They all three, if it's three, the three walk out, and I quietly bring the box away, and they go hide in the weeds. And then I'll drive some other places away a little bit, so the dog's not going to cover both in the same run. Someplace away a little bit, and I'll do it again, and I'll put some more out there, and take a minute, let them walk out so they're a covey. And then what I can do, I can spend the whole day working those birds with as many dogs as I want because I park kind of in the middle somewhere. I start from the middle somewhere, and I go do, let's say, the north one, the first one I put out. I go do the north one, and we're out there working those birds, and some of them are running. I'm getting a lot of great stuff. Some are running, some are flying. I got coveys, I got whatever it is. Some fly a long way, whatever. I shoot some of them, whatever. Okay, I get the dog ready to leave, and if I shot some of the birds up, I'll put a couple more out there and we'll go back, get some water, and then we'll go drive or we'll go over to the other covey and work it. Same thing. So I can go back and forth all day long with not that many birds and have some great stuff. And an important part of it is your dog learns more from losing than he does from winning. A lot of times, the scenario looks really good. The bird comes up, the dog has been steady. My shooter goes bang and misses it or something, and he feels bad because he didn't get to reward the dog. He doesn't need to. That dog should not get no more than half, even if it's done right. They learn so much more. They get so much steadier. But you want to be careful and not reward them every time. That's not the nature of it. It's a weird deal, but they learn more and get even steadier when they don't get that reward every single time. That repetition is not normal.
Right. Yeah. I
It's weird, but it's
yeah.
true.
When I discuss this kind of thing with people, I say, they 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 fail and they succeed, and they learn
Yeah,
as much from the lesson from failure is as important as the lesson from success.
it is. And if you look at it, that's why I've got some coyotes that I manage here, and I watch kind of what they do. The ravens come in, the red tails follow me, all the other predators are around doing their stuff, and I watch what they all do and everything. And I'm a falconer, so I'll trap a Cooper's hawk or a prairie falcon or something and fly it on some chucker or something. And you learn from them and how it really works. And even in the wild, you'll see those red tails trying to catch something. They're all trying to catch my quail, and they follow us all the time. They're not successful half the time. Maybe one out of four they might get something, but they keep trying it. It's not like people. It's not like you're training a kid who gets depressed or gets disheartened because he tried a couple of times, didn't get successful. Predators don't think like that. It's not in their mind. They'll just continue to try, and the more times that they fail, the more they learn. You don't want to make it easy so they can win by making it easy. You make it hard and they lose, and then they win a few, and then it just becomes hardwired. It's the nature of it, and that's why yard work and pigeons and launchers and all that repetition and obedience and pressure, it's not right. It's like you're training a kid. It doesn't work well, and it never will because the dog doesn't think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also there's always limitations in what you're doing and work with what you've got. But it's important to keep it as natural as you can and go different places. Everything is about. I tell people keep your act together. It's ACT, association, consistency, and timing. So it's important that you go out and you work a certain field. You shouldn't have a training field because they learn and all the associations are based on that location. Because then you take them out to hunt wild chuck or something else, they don't really know what to do because they're not in that
Yeah.
place. So it's important to move them around different places. Anything you can do, different cover, different place. We move the dogs around all the time just so that they understand that hey, this is generalized. When we go hunting, this is how it works. And wherever we go, there could be birds. It's not just in that one field. That's why yard work doesn't work. You get them all doing their stuff in the yard, and then they wonder why the dog doesn't do it in the field. Well, if you want to shoot pigeons out of your yard, he's your dog. But if you take him out chucker hunting, he doesn't know what you're doing. You're just punishing him for moving. That's all he knows.
Yeah. That's right. You got to keep changing it up.
Anyway, yeah, that's it's all just kind of keeping it natural, um, and do it through association. We don't want to do a bunch of repetition because doing a bunch of repetition is pretty much proof that you're doing it wrong. You should be able to show them with an association. They pick it up real quick. Then you know you're on the right track.
So I don't know. You probably remember Pearl. Maybe we was out last October. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's doing real well. And I started letting her go after the bang just because the cover here. If they get wounded, they can run so many different places. So I've been letting her go after the bang. Not just on wild birds, but if I correct her, I'll put the check cord on her at the preserve or whatever. She'll hold until I let her go again. So
Yeah, and that's what
she's
I
got
mean.
it down.
There's basically two ways it's going to work out. In the method, no dog takes off on the flush. Okay, you're never going to shoot over a running dog,
Nope.
so they're either going to leave. They're either if you're the shooter handler, you're doing both jobs. You're the shooter and the handler, and you're out front, and you say, "All right, whatever." So you flush the bird up. You look at your dog, make sure your dog didn't move. You turn and you go ahead and shoot the bird. Get your eyes back on the dog. Now, after you bang and shoot, if you let the dog go, then that's okay. What the dog will learn, it's interesting if you just let that happen. Let it if you let him go at the bang. they will learn all by themselves to leave on the fall and not the bang.
Right.
And here's how that works. In their mind, it's all about building association. So if you go bang and the dog leaves and gets the bird,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
you do that consistently. Bang, he leaves, gets the bird. Bang, he leaves and gets the bird. But there's an inconsistency there that you're going to create because you're going to either not hit it or can't shoot it because it's unsafe or whatever. So a situation is going to come after a few birds where it's going to go bang and he's going to take off, okay? And figuring he's going to pick that bird up, but the bird doesn't fall.
Right.
And when that happens just a few times, he doesn't waste energy anymore. He'll stand there, the bird will flush, it'll go bang, he won't leave unless he sees it fall. Then he'll go.
Right.
Now
Right.
that's a neat thing. You don't have to do anything. They'll just naturally learn that to be steady until fall, even if you let them go at the bang. And the only difference between that and complete steady, where they don't leave on the flush, they don't leave on the bang, they don't leave on the fall. They wait until I get over to them and I get my hands on them and I say hunt dead. So there's not a big difference between when the bird hits the ground and when I get there and say hunt dead. So it's very similar as long as you are careful that you never let them start anticipating and leaving on flush.
So I've noticed this too, Brad, when we do our preseason, we go out and let them run preseason, get them out in the where they're going to be hunting or whatever.
Yeah.
And we moving a lot of birds, because they're young yet. And I noticed she will not, when they flush, she doesn't move. She'll
Absolutely.
wait. She'll wait until I start walking again or whatever. So
Isn't that something? And you
yeah,
know what's so cool about that is that's the nature of the predator. And when you were here, when people come, I've done it with a million dogs, and they just learned that. They just, when a bird flushes, they automatically, with no training, they all do a stop to flush and a steady to flush because they know if they start going, there's no chance they're going to get it. But if they're steady, there's a chance we might drop it. So it's really neat to see that a dog stop. Now, when your dog does that, I tell people anytime you see your dog do a stop to flush, let's say he's running through a field and he didn't do it on purpose, just a bird flew. He didn't bust it, it just flew. And he saw it and he stops. That's when I want people at that point to, in the beginning, when you're first doing that with him, I want people to physically walk over there, get their hand on his collar, settle him a second, and then turn them loose. They do a great stop like that, but they need to know with consistency when they get to go again.
right,
And that's important because if you just don't do anything, well, when it starts to set its wings or they're going to take off and go because it's going to land, or they may leave after just a time frame of a few moments or whatever, or when you start walking and it becomes inconsistent when they get to leave. So they never
right,
really know when. And that's
okay,
why what I tell people now is always go to your dog. Anytime a bird flushes, go to your dog and release him, get hold of his collar and release him from your hand in the beginning. Now, if you're the handler shooter and you've got to shoot before you can go to him, that's fine. You look at him, the bird flushes, you look at him, you go bang, open your gun and get over there. Get your hand on him and release him to go. And then after just a short time, he'll learn that real quick and be super steady. And then in a very short time, all you have to do is you can put the verbal back in at a distance and just tell him when he can go. So
right.
those things work real well. But as you know, the most challenging part of doing this in this way is to be a good handler. The dogs get it and do it real well, but you have to learn to be consistent, in your handling, and then they get real good. But if you're inconsistent in handling, they get excited. They're trying to manage energy, and they get excited about stuff. So
Right.
as long as you're a good handler, you'll have a dog at these levels.
So a scenario we had yesterday, I took a buddy of mine out and he hadn't seen a dog really, hold for a good amount of time, let's say. So
Uh huh.
she went on point on a single quail, and she's pointing like, okay, I go in there, I tell her okay. She still doesn't go when I tell her to go.
And
She
that's
won't
okay.
flush them
Remember,
herself. She makes
that's
she
right.
makes me do it. She makes me do
Yes,
it. So
and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's permission. When I go in there, I'm just going to let them help me flush it if no chasing, but they can help me flush it. I'm rewarding that beautiful stalking and the pointing, and I want them to say, okay, that's why you pointed, because you wanted to flush it. Well, I'm going to let you do it. No chasing, but you've got permission. And it's weird. The vast majority of dogs, they have so much trust in us as handlers that they say, no, boss, you do it. And that's fine, because it's never a command. It's just permission. You can help me if you want.
Right.
Great.
So as this played out, we had my buddy. He was going to be shooting, and I was kicking around trying to find the bird. I didn't know exactly where it was, and I said, "Okay, well." She then went around him and came to the other side of him, and we kind of had a triangle.
That's
Well, I
neat.
kind of knew it was right in the middle of us. I was like, "Okay, well, it's got to be here somewhere." And finally, it went. And he got the shot, and then she went and got it. So it was a good scenario, because she filled in that extra gap, I think, to where she knew exactly where it was, but she wanted me to flush it, and I think she knew that I didn't know where it was.
Sure, and we call that the circle of death.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. That's what they'll do, especially when you start putting 2 or 3 dogs together that know how to do it. They will point. The second one will come in, and then when the third one comes in, they'll take up the gap. They'll kind of do a circle, which is kind of what we want to do as shooters, to kind of take up the gap. And then generally the bird goes out whatever gap is the biggest. So you can kind of get an idea. It's interesting when you let the dogs have the freedom to make these choices and they show you what they can really do. You really get to see some neat stuff that you'll never see with conventional training, and you'll never see in a test or an event or something like that. They got so much talent that people aren't aware of.
You bet.
Yeah.
I still need to get my other one out there one of these days. I don't know when it's going to happen, but she's doing all right. I've been working with her a little bit, and I think she might have a problem with blinking birds, but I'm not sure.
Well, that's something
1
that
minute.
we can. That's something that would be a good one to talk about sometime, because there's blinking birds. There's reasons for that. More than half of my business is fixing dogs that other trainers and all have created problems. So if there's blinking of birds, it's generally because there's some nervousness or something. The dog got woed or got shocked or got smacked by a pheasant when it took off. Something happened to make it sensitive about the bird. I just did a gun shy dog day before yesterday. We got that finished up in one session. This dog was a bird flush. He'd run back to the owner because they'd shocked him. They shocked him. It got him scared on a big flush, young pup, big flush. Everybody started banging the guns, whole bunch of guns going. He was running around. They tapped him with an e-collar, and he was done. He was not going to play with birds again. We got him back. Took me one session, and a lot of quail. But keep that keep me posted on that. And next time we talk, maybe bring that up and we'll talk about that. And it's not generally too hard to fix if you can figure out how it happened, and we usually sure. No, that's all good stuff. And to fix things like gun shy or bird shy and things, the main thing to do is get the drive up nice and high. I'll take a bunch of quail, let them bump and chase, leave them alone, let them learn from the bird, bump and chase, get happy again, and then start banging the gun from some distance when they're chasing. Just before it's in their mouth, they're all excited. It goes bang and it's in their mouth. And then keep that energy going. Keep a lot of birds out there. Keep the excitement real high. And then that's typically they begin to understand that, hey, you know what? The bang is part of this. Because when it goes bang, I got the bird. And pretty soon it goes bang and they look for it. Where's the bird? And then we know we've got it.
Right.
Neat stuff.
So one problem we've had out here, it's been so dry that our pheasants, they are not sticking. They're running, and they're running a long ways. We're talking 300-400 yards before they'll sit.
Yeah.
And it drives the dogs nuts. It just, they're like, man, it should be coming. Where's it at? But
well, they're like, that's a lot like when we're working the chucker and stuff. But that's what's nice about the method, the Higgins method, where we're having the dog, giving them the freedom to work it, and they're really steady. You can trust them any distance. You can trust them over the hill. They're all good, and they learn real quick to work those chucker, work those pheasants, and they'll get them stopped. Where other dogs would tend to get more and more excited as they're stalking, and pretty soon they're moving too fast and they flush the bird out. Well,
right.
When they learn from the bird that, hey, you got to be careful on that, the way we do it, you'll get don't get me wrong, it's a challenging way to hunt, but you'll get a lot more success with dogs trained our way than conventional training.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah,
'Cause
your birds are running, and the dogs have to learn how to manage them. Whereas
Yes.
if you're using dizzied and planted birds, then they're going to stay pretty much.
Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't work with what we do, and the reason is the dog has to learn. It's a chess game. The game bird has a strategy, and the predator has a strategy, and that dog has to learn. He's got to push that. Like these chuckers, take the chucker here. He's got to learn that he needs to push them. Well, not push them, but he needs to stay in touch with them, because if he doesn't stay in touch, they're going to be gone. They run so much. He's got to stay in touch, but he can't push them. If he tries to get too close or close the gap too soon, they're going to fly and be gone. So he's got to be good enough to get them to change their strategy, because these chucker here, they don't want to fly because that's when the hawk will get them. So the last thing they want to do is fly. The only other options they have is to hide or run, and they like to run uphill. So they're going to run first. When the dog is good managing them, and he's able to stay in touch with them but not push them too hard, they'll change strategy from running. They'll start breaking up, and pretty soon they start to hide because this predator's still after them, and that's when we get them.
Yeah.
But you got to have a dog good enough to go through those transitions and understand it, and they will. They've got the nature of that. That's in them. If we don't take it out and don't start wowing them or trying to slow them down on the first couple of birds they've done, let them do it. Let them learn. Let them bust it. I hope they do.
Yep.
And on about the second or third bird, they're going to be way far away. Back a lot of times they won't. They'll just stand there. They go, no, I'm not going to push it. Yeah, it's neat what they know. And it's neat to be able to sit back and just let it develop. Let that bird train that dog. It's the only way to go. We got nothing to do with it.
So that guy I hunted with yesterday. He's been around dogs, but he's been around man. Everybody's yelling, and
Yeah.
we went out yesterday. I barely said 2 words to the dog all day, And he's like, I'd let her go, and she'd be out 150 yards in front of us, messing around, and she'd go on point. And he goes, "Oh, we got to get up there." I go, "No, we don't. She ain't doing it. She ain't going anywhere."
Yeah. Yeah.
She just stand there, wait till we get up there. I was like,
and that's the hard part for you, because when you've got somebody else with you on your hunt, you have to manage. You're managing a dog. When I say management, you're not really doing anything, but you're just managing some energy, and you have to manage that other person, because especially people that are used to conventionally trained dogs, that dog starts getting birdie, and that guy's energy goes through the roof, and he starts to hurry, and he wants to say, "Whoa, easy, easy," but he wants to hurry to get within range before the dog flushes the bird, which is what everybody does. It's hard for people to understand. No, slow, like you did. You got to slow them down, manage that guy's energy, slow down. She's not going to push it. Everything is fine. And it becomes a walk in the park. And that's hard for a lot of these guys. They're so used to just going crazy when a dog gets birdie. And that's when you got to stop too. You got to slow down just like they did. And people have a hard time with that. But that's the fun of this, is we get to take other people out and show them the real talent these dogs have.
Yeah, he said something about, he goes, your dog, when she goes on point, she doesn't have, like, she's not shaking or anything. She's calm. He goes, I've never seen anything like it. So I was happy, when people say that, and they're like, I never hunted like this before. And I go, well, this is it, man. This is how you're supposed to do it, I think.
Yeah, you want to get the most out of that predator, the most out of that dog. And the way to do that is let them learn it. Let them realize that you're valuable, that you have a talent, that we can't smell a bird. We got nothing. We can't keep up. They think we're kind of a waste in the field. But then all of a sudden we show them, hey, you know what? You can chase it and get tired, but if you don't chase it, I have the big teeth. I can kill it. I can do something that you can't do. I can kill it. And they recognize that, and they become very cooperative and trusting, and you've got the relationship, and then they'll do anything with you. That's a completely different situation than conventional training, where you are an adversary to the dog. You take their bird. You tell them fetch, and you take their bird. They go on point, and you walk out front, and you steal their point. If another dog did that to them, they wouldn't allow that. But you because you're going to punish them, so it's so unnatural that they don't really build the bond that we're looking for, that is useful even around the house, and whatever you're doing with the dog, you got to build that relationship. Even you're going to spend a lot more time with your dog around your house and at the park and whatever than you are in the gun field. So it's a relationship, and it's throughout all of his life, not just in the gun field. So, yeah, it's a neat thing when they start building that trust.